So today we're kicking off a series called Offended, how to respond to offense without losing your cool. In case you live under a rock, people get offended. People cause offenses to happen. Others are offended because other people are offended. Right? We see it, we hear it. Let me just tell you that wanting to not offend or wanting to not get offended is delusional. Okay? There are going to be times that we all offend, and there are going to be times that we offend others. This is going to happen, but here is what we have to keep in mind. Our goal should be to respond with righteousness to offenses rather than trying to win an argument or debate. To respond with righteousness instead of trying to win. Because sometimes people tend to try to win no matter the cost. But if we're trying to be righteous in a situation, then we're going to glorify Christ. I say it this way: choose grace when you're offended. Choose grace. I have always tried to walk out my personal walk with Christ. I'm a ministry walk with Christ, trying to keep grace at the forefront. Now, that doesn't mean that I set myself up to get walked on and trampled on, but simply that I'm going to try to choose grace in those different situations. How many of you have said or have heard in a conversation, you started off with no offense, but is that what's with the warning system? Like, what is with that? Like, no offense, but that means I'm about to offend you. Or you're about to get offended, okay? Just stop it. It's crazy. Here's why people say, I hope this doesn't offend you, but is because you have a predetermined expectation of what is about to happen. How about just sharing your heart through love and grace and seeing what happens? Because listen, as soon as you tell someone, no offense, but too late, whoosh, walls up. You done lost your chance to speak into their life, okay? Because they're like, nope, not going to happen now. There are times that people may get offended and our heart's in the right place and grace is in the right place and we've done all the right things and we've taken the right avenues, and some people may still get offended, and that's just going to happen. But we got to open ourselves up and create the opportunity for them to feel like they can come to us, to feel like we can open up our heart and then they can come and hear from us. Look, all of us, we're going to cause people to be offended from time to time, okay? So don't try to walk on eggshells. Don't try to walk the straight and narrow line. It is going to happen that we are going to offend people. Here's what we have to keep in mind. All offense doesn't automatically equal wrong, doesn't automatically equal bad. It just means that two people see a situation or a topic differently. That's all it means, okay? It doesn't necessarily mean that evil has taken place or that wrong is it just means that we've seen things differently. I'm going to tell you that it would be boring if we all saw things the exact same way, okay? That would just be downright boring. So we have to understand that offense doesn't mean or equal wrong. It doesn't mean unrighteousness. It doesn't mean sin. It is just going to happen. I'll be in this series this week and the next two, and today I want to talk about recognizing an offense. How can we recognize an offense that's going to be happening? Because I think that what some people think is an offense is really just a good old disagreement, okay? Like, I am not offended by Michigan fans, okay? I mean, It's not my fault that they're blind, okay? It's not my fault that they can't really pick a better team. I'm not offended by that. That is just a disagreement, okay? I heard a joke about a guy walks into a bar, okay, and he has a dog. Doug, you told me this. So if you have a problem with this, talk to Doug. Under the bus. And he's like, hey, sir, you can't have dogs in here. And he's like, no, but this dog is a great dog. And it happens to be the first Saturday after Thanksgiving, which is always the game. He's like, listen, this is a great dog because every time Ohio State scores, this dog barks. And whenever they're done here and they win this game, this dog will do backflips. Guy's like, that's incredible. What does he do when Michigan wins? The guy says, the dog's only 6 years old. It's been that long since they won. I'm just saying. So I'm not offended by them. I'm not offended by non-Christians. Hello? I'm not offended by non-Christians. Not the least. Do I have a concern for their eternity? Yes. Am I offended by them? No. I may be offended if they try and take me and put me in a box of some other Christians that are offended by non-Christians. That may offend me if they try to place me in that same box, in that same category. But I'm not offended by non-Christians. They don't offend me. I enjoy having conversations with them. So what are some of our public offenses? We've seen them, we'll see them all the time. Politics, right? People getting offended because of politics. People getting offended because of social injustices. People getting offended because of racism, because of equality. We see people getting offended publicly in all of these things. We see people getting offended at people protesting when they have the right to protest. Now, you may disagree with why they're protesting, okay? But we get offended by those things, okay? Now, I'm not going to go into all of those, but I'm just going to simply tell you this. We live in America where we have freedoms to peacefully protest and to peacefully disagree, whether we see eye to eye or not. There are public offenses in religious freedoms. Now, does that mean that they're under attack? Absolutely. Do I get offended by someone who has a different religion than me? No, I do not. Do I get offended if they try, once again, to put me in a box with someone else or to try to let my box be smaller than their box? Absolutely. That offends me, but I also understand what I should do and what I should not do in the context of public service. For instance, when I coached football, okay, I did not cross the line between a coach and a pastor unless they came to me first, because I understood that there's a line there that I wasn't going to cross. I was going to have that line and know where that line is, and I was going to stay there, okay? But there's also some private offenses too. Things that we don't see publicly, but they happen privately. Simple misunderstandings, okay? People getting offended at misunderstandings. People getting offended at forgetting certain occasions, okay? Birthdays, meetings, appointments, as we learned last night, St. Patrick's Day, okay? Dates people forget. Dates of life, moments. I've had some friends and family members offended at me because I don't recall, I don't remember when people die. It is not something that I want to have space in my brain. So I can't tell you when some of my grandparents or uncles or other people died. I don't know. That offends some of my family. I don't do it intentionally. I don't do it purposefully, but that's just me. And that's the way that I am. That's some private things that cause offense. Sometimes not being filled in causes offense to someone because they think that they should have more information than what they're giving, so they're offended because they don't have more information. Someone sharing their thoughts will offend them because you think, oh, I didn't ask you. But then another day you're offended because they didn't share their thoughts. I was pouring out my heart and they didn't give me any advice. Well, the last time they did, you were offended. You see how I'm going here? Like we're back and forth on this stuff. Parenting. How are kids supposed to be disciplined? How much freedom are kids supposed to have? How much of this? How much of that? We're offended because one parent does it differently than the other. Because sometimes we're a little psychotic. Jealousy brings offense. Okay? Big offenses come out of jealousy. I want to park there for just a moment. The offense of jealousy is often the worst because the other person generally did nothing wrong, and usually they can't defend themselves because they don't know. Because they're just going about living their life, doing things. Someone else gets jealous, they're offended by it. They don't know. That is the worst kind of offense because chances are it's not going to be resolved because they have no idea. We hear stuff like, why do they need a house like that? I'm offended by their house. Why are they always posting online about their marriage? I'm offended by their relationship. Why do they have such nice stuff? I'm offended that they have nice stuff. People out there doing without, got nothing, and they're there and doing that, and blah, blah, blah. I'm offended they got the promotion. Everybody knows I work harder than they do. Apparently you complain more too. But we get offended over these things that the other person never knows, right? Because we're jealous of them. Not because they did anything wrong, but because something is different. But here's what we sometimes maybe don't know. The person that has a house like that, they're not in debt up to their eyeballs with everything else, so they have the extra money for a house like that. Or they worked hard and they saved hard and they were able to build that house debt-free, and that's why they got their house like that. The couple that's always posting stuff online about their marriage, maybe behind closed doors, they have people slipping in their DMs trying to get some things happening and going on, or there was, some sort of mistrust there, and so that's a level of accountability for them, but you're jealous because we don't post stuff like that, but they need to because there's some things going on and that helps them in that moment. They've got all that nice stuff and other people do without, but maybe what you don't know is how much they give away, how much they help, how much they serve, how much they do other things, because all you see is what's on the outside. Well, I work harder than them and they got that promotion. You may think you work harder than them, but they put more into it. Working hard and putting ourselves into a job are two different things, because you can work hard at something and never get it accomplished. Okay? You can work hard at trying to push a parked car and it's not going to move. Don't fault the guy that comes along and knows if I put this in neutral, I can push it. I worked harder than him. He moved the car. Okay, so sometimes we just don't know what's going on in the background. James chapter 3 is a portion of text about the tongue. And if you've never read James chapter 3, you need to read it. I'll start in verse 13 in a moment, but let me catch you up. James 13 is about how something so small has so much power. And they bring about some illustrations here as they talk about what the bridle does for a horse, what the rudder does for a ship, what a small spark will do to create a massive fire. So the context here is, hey, something small can have a big impact, okay? We're also told just before we get here that from the tongue comes praises and cursing. So now we jump into here, verse 13. Are there those among you who are truly wise and understanding? Then they should show it by living right and doing good things with the gentleness that comes from wisdom. But if you are selfish and have bitter jealousy in your hearts, do not brag. Your bragging is a lie that hides the truth. Jealousy is a lie. That kind of wisdom does not come from God, but from the world. It is not spiritual, it's from the devil. Where jealousy and selfishness are, there will be confusion and every kind of evil. But the wisdom that comes from God is first of all pure, then peaceful, gentle, and easy to please. This wisdom is always ready to help those who are troubled and do good for others. It's always fair and honest. People who work for peace in a peaceful way plant a good crop of right living. Jealousy causes us to dwell on matters. And it festers and it eats away at things, and we continue to think and we continue to dwell. And when you dwell on an offense, it grows. Because something that was minor turns into something that's major. Here's where we have to be careful. A refusal to let go of an offense is a refusal to grow in your faith. If you are still holding on to an offense that someone caused you, you are not going to grow in your faith. Because you dwell on that, and that festers, and that grows, and that eats away, and you just can't grow in your faith. Our ability to properly handle offenses is a test of spiritual growth and maturity. If you are someone that is easily offended at all times and at everything, you're not where you need to be in your faith, okay? You need some Jesus. Don't worry about everybody else. Go get some more Jesus for yourself, okay? So as we recognize offenses, I want to talk about three channels that they manifest in. First is words. Offenses manifest through words. What you hear, what you say, and how you say it. What you hear, what you say, and how you say it. Thoughts. What you think others think about you. And really what people do think about you. So words, thoughts, and actions. What you do, what you refuse to do, what others do against you, or what they don't do that you think they should do. Any of that seem confusing to some people? Offenses are a little confusing sometimes, okay? Because it's like, what did I say? What did I mean to say? What did I hear? What did they really say? I can't figure it out. Hey, they did this. Does that mean this? They didn't do this. Does that mean something else? And then offense begins to happen in our life. So, recognizing an offense, and here's why I want us to be able to recognize them, is because then we're prepared to defend them. Okay? Listen, in order to win any battle, any competition, you have to know your enemy. It doesn't matter if it's sports. It doesn't matter if it's military. It doesn't matter if it's business competition. If you want to do better than someone else, you have got to be able to know them and to know what they are and to know how they react. Same way with offenses. If we can see them coming, we can better defend them. I've said it I don't know how many times. The punch that knocks you out is usually the one you never saw coming. Okay? So let's see these things coming. Then if we see them coming and we see that offense coming and we begin to see this happening, then we're less likely to pop off at someone, to lose our cool, to look like the guy there in the first slide that's just screaming his face off, right? If we can see these things coming, then we're less likely to pop off. So here you go. Offenses originate because views, cultures, and backgrounds aren't all the same. Views, cultures, and backgrounds aren't all the same. Jesus understands what it means for people to get offended. Some of you may not know this, but Jesus offended people. Okay? So in Matthew 13, let me set this up for you. Jesus is there chilling by the water. Okay? He's just there chilling. All of a sudden, people start cramping his space. They're coming from everywhere. So he's like, I'm going to get on the boat. I'm going to go out into the water, and I'm going to talk to these people, and I'm going to head home, okay? It says it a little bit differently in the text, but that's basically what, you probably won't find chilling by the water in your version, but that's what's happening, okay? Just want to set that up for you there. So, I mean, you know, so the one thing that I find about what he gets out on the boat on is he teaches on parables. Parables are sometimes confusing. Here's what I think happened. Jesus was like, I'll show you guys to interrupt my chill time by the water. I'm going to go out on the boat. I'm going to teach them parables, leave you all confused. I'm going back home and I'm going to church. I think that's why he taught him the parables, because they messed up his chill time. I'll ask him when I get to heaven if that's true. I'm not sure. But I'll ask him when I get to heaven and see it. So then he gets home. He goes back to his hometown. He walks into church, and people are offended by what he's teaching. Let's see why. Matthew chapter 13, verse 53. When Jesus had finished these parables, he moved on from there. Coming to his hometown, he began teaching the people in their synagogue, and they were amazed. Where did this man get this wisdom and these miraculous powers, they asked. Isn't this the carpenter's son? Isn't his mother's name Mary? And aren't his brothers James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas? Aren't all his sisters with us? When did this man get all these things? And they took what? Offense at him. But Jesus said to them, a prophet is not without honor except in his own town and in his own home. And he did not do many miracles there because of their lack of faith. They were offended because of who his parents were. They were offended because of where he came from. They were offended because of what he was known for. They were offended because in their minds, it wasn't ideal for him to be teaching what he's teaching and for him to be experiencing what he's experiencing based on his difference of view, background, or culture. Jesus didn't set out to offend them. He wanted to encourage them, right? He wanted to encourage them, but they wouldn't honor who he was because of where he came from, because of what his family did, because of what he was known for. Here's the hard part. Their offense caused them to miss out on a bunch of things. If we aren't careful, the same will happen to us. It said there, and he did not do many miracles there because of their lack of faith. Because they said, we know who your parents are, we know who your brothers are, we know who your sisters are, we know what your family did. Whatever you have to say doesn't matter to us. And if we're not careful, same thing will happen to us, because when you focus on an offense, it may cause you to miss out on a possible life-changing outcome. Because you're more focused on the offense than what is happening right in front of you. So we have to be very careful. We have to be careful to make sure that the offense doesn't consume us and almost cause a tunnel vision to where we can't see anything else because of this offense, because I'm offended by this, because of this and because of that. Here's what I'm going to say that may offend some of you, but you're the right message. There are some things that happen in churches, Bible-believing churches. Jesus is there. People's lives are changed. That may offend some of you, but lives are being changed. Let it go. Let it go. Okay? Let it go. I know Jonathan, maybe jokingly, I don't know, asked me last night, he's like, because he saw me doing a baptism service with a hat on. And he said, Pastor, you care if I wear a hat on Sunday? I said, I don't care. So I don't know about everybody else, but don't bother me. Because the way I enter into worship is not based on the fact whether you have a hat on or not. Because I know where your heart is. Because I can see your heart before I can see the hat. Okay? So hopefully nobody was offended last night that Pastor prayed with a hat on. That Pastor did baptisms with a hat on. Okay, hopefully that didn't offend anybody, because if so, you missed out. Some of you are maybe saying, I didn't even notice. Good. Good, then your heart's in the right place. Excellent. You don't have tunnel vision, okay? But those are small things that happen that take away from a possible life-changing outcome for people because they get tunnel vision. Okay? There are plenty of churches out there that they're reaching people and their pastors are wearing skinny jeans. I don't get it. Okay? And pastors got a faux hawk. I don't understand. Okay? And they're wearing 17 layers. But hey, people are getting saved. Okay? People are being touched. Lives are being changed. Offenses also originate because correction needs pointed out. These ones hurt, but the intention most of the time is not hurt. So when an offense comes because correction is pointed out, it may hurt you, but if their heart's in the right place, that was not their intention. How do we know if it's correction? How do we know that? Because if it points to something that is absolutely 100% true, someone's probably trying to help bring some correction to you. That's the second part, is that they're not just shining light on the issue, but that person wants to stick by your side to help you fix it. I've got no problem with people speaking into my life and with people telling me things that maybe I don't recognize and I don't see in those things. But if they're there just to point them out and they don't want to further speak on the matter and they don't want to give me some ideas or give me some tips, then I don't need them. But the people that want to come and bring some correction to me, I will receive it. I may be offended a little bit at first because it's touching something that's true and it's touching something that I thought was okay, but they want to bring correction. Hebrews 12:11 tells us, for the moment, all discipline seems painful rather than pleasant, but later it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. So in that moment of correction, it may hurt. It may dig up some old things that you weren't ready to have dug up again. And in that moment, it's going to be painful, but stick around because it gets better if you're trained by it and you get past it and you get victory over it because the person wanted to bring some correction. Failure on your part to not receive proper correction is failure in becoming a disciplined follower of Christ. Now, notice I said proper correction. If someone comes to you with a thought of correction and you blow them off and you don't receive it, that's on you, okay? Now, I know for some of you, you may struggle with that because you've got walls built up and you don't want anybody pointing out your flaws. I understand that and I get that. But there are times that we fail to bring correction to someone because we're more concerned about offending them than we are in seeing them have victory. Some of you haven't spoken a word to someone because you're more concerned about offending them than seeing them have victory in that matter. And everybody said, a few of you did, okay. If someone is married and sneaking around talking to others, they need correction, okay? Sure, they may be offended, but what matters most, offending them or seeing their marriage be restored and seeing their marriage be happy? People who aren't married and they claim to be a Jesus follower and they're getting busy with someone else. Know what I mean? They need correction because they're claiming to be a Jesus follower and they're doing things that are clearly against God's word. They need correction. Because here's the thing, is that my love for them carries more weight than the offense to them. So you've got to make sure that your love for this person and whatever they're in, that your love carries more weight to them than the offense that may come for them. If me or Pastor Ricky are constantly at odds with one another, we need correction, okay? The church depends on it. And that's why I talk to our entire leadership team that our relationship has to be good. Between myself and worship, and myself and men, and myself and women's ministry, and myself and the media team, and myself and kids, and myself and our coordinators, and myself and events. We have to be good because the church depends on it. If someone else sees that it's bad, or you're one of those leaders and you see that it's bad, bring correction. But your heart better be in the right place to come. If someone calls New Life home and they're out there bad-mouthing this church and bad-mouthing the leadership, they need corrected. Because gossip destroys churches. And a lot of times the gossip starts from within the people in the very room on Sunday mornings. Now some may leave and continue with some of the garbage and things, but at that point if they've left and they no longer call New Life home, I don't really care. Okay? Because that doesn't cause me offense. What would cause me offense is if someone who says, New Life is my home, New Life is my church, and then you're talking bad about the church or the leadership, because we're family. We are family together. Now, I know someone may be like, well, Pastor, that's judging, and I don't judge people. Pastor, you ever read that portion of scripture that says, judge not? I ain't going to bring correction to no one. So don't come to me. Pastor, I don't judge people. I'm not going to bring correction because I'm not going to offend anybody. You silly person. Matthew chapter 7. I'm going to break this down for you. Do not judge others and you will not be judged. Yep, told you so. Read on. For you will be treated as you treat others. The standard you use in judging is the standard by which you will be judged. Why worry about a speck in your friend's eye when you have a log in your own? How can you think of saying to your friend, let me help you get rid of the speck in your eye, when you don't see past the log in your own eye? Hypocrite. First get rid of the log in your own eye, then you will see well enough to deal with the speck in your friend's eye. So this whole judge not, or I ain't judging nobody, you're not helping anybody either. Okay, can I just tell you that you're not helping anybody either? If I judge you with righteousness, God will judge me with righteousness. If I judge you with bitterness, God will judge me with bitterness. If I judge you with condemnation, God will judge me with condemnation. If I judge you by the standards of God's word and I can come to you and say, hey, scripture says, and I'm concerned about you, then that's the standard that God's going to use. So for me, I'm okay with that. This isn't a don't tell me what to do. This is a help me be better than I am now. I want to do better. Yes, it hurts a little bit, but the truth sometimes does. We say Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. Do you think that the truth hurt when he hung on a cross? Do you think that the truth hurt when he was beaten in front of a crowd of people, when he was mocked? Do you think that sometimes the truth hurts a little bit? But bring correction through love, through righteousness. Don't correct someone else if you have more damaging things happening in your life. That's where the law comes into place. Okay? So then if you're doing one thing that you just know is against God's word, don't go trying to correct someone else, because you need to get things right. You need to get healthy. You need to be spiritually mature and in a place to bring correction for someone else. Now, sometimes, this third one is the one that most people fall into. Offense originates because someone is trying to trap you. Little shout out to the Collinsville student section, the trap at football games. They're still ranked number 1. Yeah, that's right. The trap is still ranked number 1 for student section. These offenses are the worst kind, because their purpose is to cause harm. Unlike correction, correction may bring harm. It may hurt. When someone's trying to trap you in an offense, they want to hurt you. They want to harm you. They want to bait you in. Stay away from this, please, church. Stay away from this trap. Whether you're causing this for some people or you're getting in the trap yourself, stay away from an offense of someone who wants to trap you. Romans 16, I urge you, brethren, note those who cause divisions and offenses contrary to the doctrine which you learned, and avoid them. If we know someone is causing division, is trying to trap you, is trying to have an offense that traps you, stay away from them. Amazing that the word says that. For those who are such do not serve our Lord Jesus Christ, but their own belly, and by smooth words and flattering speech deceive the hearts of the simple. And unfortunately, some people that try to cause offense to trap other people are sitting in churches like this all around the world. People in churches that want to throw out that trap for someone, that want to cause someone to stumble, that wants to cause someone to fall, that wants to cause someone to lose their cool because of whatever standard that they think that they have, because of a position, because of seniority, because I've been in church this long, or because I've got this position, or because I've got this ministry. Listen, if I ever tell anyone in here, unless it's, hey, what's going on? And my answer to you legitimately is, I'm not sure, I'm just a pastor. Okay? But if I ever tell, if you ever ask me, hey, why are you doing that? And my response is, because I'm the pastor, it's time for me to go. It's time for me to go. Because I should never have to remind the church that I look after who I am. Because when that happens, I've lost sight of who I am. And I've lost sight of what God's called me to. I'm not going to trap someone in that, well, this is the way it is because I'm the pastor. That is not my heart. That is not going to be my heart. Let me remind you this. When someone is intentional about causing hurt through an offense, don't allow it to take up residence in your mind. When someone is trying to trap you, don't allow that to take up residence in your mind. Don't let their foolishness cause you to respond with the same force. See, many of us, that's what we think is the right reaction. Well, you offended me, so I'm going to offend you. You caused me hurt, so I'm going to cause you hurt. We think there's this equal but opportunity, or this equal but the same action has to happen. Physics is one thing, serving Christ is another. Okay? Physics is one thing, serving Christ is another. Don't allow their foolishness to cause you to respond the same. Okay? De-escalate things. Take the high road. Sometimes don't even respond. Sometimes don't even respond. Sometimes don't even say nothing. Because they're just trying to bait you in. They're like, look at this. Doesn't this look good? Don't you want to? I know how they feel about this matter. I'm going to do this. Do you know that last time I checked, there were 632 posts on my Facebook page that I never approved to go on my Facebook page? Because they were just trying to bait me. I'm like, I don't think so. That can't happen. That's not going on there. I can't tell you how many times I hit delete. I mean, sometimes I wish I could do that with people. I'm just kidding. Kind of. But if someone's trying to bait you with something on social media, don't take the bait. If they try and tag you in something and you don't like it or you don't want to be a part of it, guess what you can do? Delete or untag yourself. Okay? Because that is a big scope of how we see things. Even at work, someone's trying to get you engaged into something, walk away. Walk away. Don't get caught in the trap. Arguments and fights between people are often birthed out of these trap type offenses. Whenever it escalates and it gets bad, why are these so bad for you and I, these trap type offenses? It's because relationships are often destroyed because someone set a trap and another person walked into it. But that's not the worst part about it. Here's the worst part about trap type offenses. The worst part is when the person's not willing to release the trap, or you've been in the trap long enough, you just stay. Maybe you set a trap for someone and you haven't released the trap yet. You need to take care of things. Or maybe you're stuck in a trap and you've stopped trying to get out. Get out. Some people are in situations because of just terribly bad people. Other people, look, there's no doubt that they need God to intervene in their situation to get out of the trap. But there are some people that you can just decide today, I'm no longer going to be trapped by this offense. I'm done with this. I'm releasing that person. I'm forgiving that person. And I'm getting out of this trap and I'm going to live for God.